En primer lugar, entonces, vamos a escuchar la ponencia de Anabel Ford y Cynthia Ellis-Topsey. Cynthia Ellis-Topsey, also known as Lubafu Iseni, is Garifuna and was delivered by a Maya midnight in August, Pin Ridge, Orange Walk, and Belize. As a scholar and a community activist, she has championed critical social causes. She is currently ambassador at large for the Garifuna nation, whose population rises beyond 800,000 worldwide. She has been a Kellogg Fellow, a United Nations expert, a lecturer at the University of Guyana, a diplomat for 16 Caribbean countries with CARICOM, and champion of the Duke of Edinburgh Award Belize. More recently, her work has embraced El Pilar with Dr. Anabel Ford to focus on unraveling the wealth untold of archaeology under the canopy of the rainforest. Then Anabel Ford is an archaeologist and anthropologist, a specialist in the Maya lowlands for more than 4 decades. Since 1986, she has been the director of the Mesoamerican Research Center at the University of California at Santa Barbara. In 2000, she became the founding president of the nonprofit Exploring Solution Path that promotes the Maya Forest Garden and El Pilar. Without any more ado, please go ahead. Women in Mesoamerican and Belizean Archaeology.
Greetings. I'm sorry, I've just had a little bit of technical problems here. I will hope this all works. Quiero primero agradecer a estos organizadores porque este es me asombro que nosotros estamos incluidos. Vamos a darnos nuestra plática presentación en inglés, pero sí puedo tomar en cuenta que podemos hablar un poco en español también. Okay, women's contributions. I think there's a lot to, I feel very proud to be here for both of us, and I think that the presentation by Andrea Richards is very promising because we take a little bit of a different avenue but follow quite in that range, looking at the problems of local people, indigenous leadership, and how women actually have a potential of including. As a background, I did a research, this is back in the 90s, and looking at the relationship of men and women in the professions. And like many have noticed already, women, even though they're in undergraduates, they definitely are, they could be greater than 50%. It seems that as they move up the academic ladders, we'll say, they tend to disappear. And what was really interesting to me, and I don't think it's that much different now, is that the relationship of women in non-ladder, academic ladder positions, what I call affiliated, is really a dominant role, and I'm an example of that. But that actually is a source of opportunities, we could say. Also was mentioned no children. I have no children, but I represent 55% of people, at least in 1990s, that didn't have children. I think it's the kinds of things that happen to women and the time, how they choose and maneuver through the world has a lot to do with how, I can't remember who mentioned it, but Margarita, I think that it really is a choice that only we have to make. Fortunately, in the last 20 years, I joined forces with a local indigenous leader. Cynthia, do you have something to say yet?
You go ahead and speak, Anabel. I'm just thrilled at listening to the contributions, especially the sister who came from the University of the West Indies, because that has been a longing of mine for many years since I'm a graduate of the University of the West Indies, and I just need to say that Belize has unfortunately always been excluded in the conversation, and I'm glad we can bridge this gap because we are part of the Caribbean. We do have the University of the West Indies in Belize, and I want to suggest that Belize is a mecca of archaeology for the region of the Caribbean and the world. Please go ahead, Anabel.
Yeah, I knew that you should take that up, and I really look forward to speaking more with our colleague because I really think she identified some of the issues that even we feel, though archaeology is much more prominent in Belize, that you feel very much a strength about. Anyway, one of the really important things that I have looked at in my research and how I came to come into working with Cynthia and actually appreciating Indigenous leadership in the context of archaeology is how we found common ground. Really, the idea of exploring solutions past by looking at how traditional people use the landscape has really been a revelation, and how I have actually recast, with the help of Cynthia and the kinds of leaders that she has been able to link us with, to advocate collaboration with the community, reflecting these traditions and local ecological knowledge that really underscores our misunderstanding of traditional land use. And I think this probably goes for wherever women are working. And I don't know, it's a sidebar, but this patrimonio cultural really bothers me. Why is it not matrimonio? Or why can't we be more neutral and say herencia in Spanish? Because we could say cultural heritage in English. It bothers me that it's only patrimonio. And the same thing that came up in some of our community mobile workshops is that why was it called ruins? And it was the community that brought the idea that we should be looking at monuments in the ancient past, not ruins. And so this has been a really the most important thing that Cynthia and Cynthia really brought to our work in archaeology, is how we aligned in learning from the community. And this idea of archaeology under the canopy is something that I have tried to bring out to encourage local people who actually practice forest gardening to help us in landscaping under the canopy, the ancient monuments. So our vision, it looks at one archaeological site that we found in 1983, the El Pilar site. We've now a reserve for Maya flora fauna in Belize. And we see our actions at looking at the monuments in situ, call it archaeology under the canopy. And maybe you can talk about the 4 pillars, Cynthia?
Yes, certainly I can. I'll be happy. I just want to mention that the first Belizean archaeologist was Garifuna. Before that, we had colonial representatives or other countries, and Dr. Joseph Palacio happened also to have been the head of the University of the West Indies for the longest time in Belize. He's also Garifuna, and we work very closely with him. So there are 4 pillars that we work under. I need to also mention that my husband, Ellis-Topsey, was the mentor of Dr. Joseph Palacio, and my husband passed in 1995. And it is on this occasion that I got deeper into the archaeological journey and went out in search of archaeologists who were working in Belize, most of whom were not Belizeans. I had been privy to my husband's strategic plan of the development of archaeology in Belize. And one of the experiences I remember having with him is going to Trinidad, where we were presenting the Belizean archaeology about 20 odd years ago. And I remember saying to him, we need to connect with the English-speaking Caribbean. Belize is a powerful bridge between Central America, Latin America, and the English-speaking Caribbean. So I was very thrilled to hear our sister from the University of the West Indies. And being Garifuna, what is powerful about us is that we are considered for the world, meaning that UNESCO declared in 2001 Garifuna as masterpiece culture for humanity. Now, in this journey with Dr. Anabel Ford, it was an unusual one because I went selfishly in search of work that my husband had done. And when she introduced El Pilar as her research study, I went and I have never looked back ever since. Because in our Belize's national anthem, we speak about wealth untold, that nature has blessed us with wealth untold. So my campaign has always been the engagement and involvement of the people who live around these archaeological sites, Maya, Garifuna, East Indian, all of us taking part in this archaeological knowledge. 4 pillars. The first pillar that we have is the Archaeological Reserve of El Pilar, which is a binational, it is a one resource shared by 2 countries of Guatemala and Belize. The second pillar, we have our forest gardener or master forest gardener, Dr. Narciso Torres, who has his farm where he has samples, both El Pilar and Dr. Torres' farm capture the essence of Maya in terms of the dominant plants that we have throughout the country of Belize. And his is one of the pillars. The other pillar is the centers, the visitor centers, Museum of Belize, the cultural center, where we have the opportunity to display the archaeological sites, which could be accessible and inform the people of Belize and people visiting from different parts of the world. And another pillar is the forest, the garden, the school garden for the children. We believe that we don't speak about youth for the future, but for the present. And therefore, it is important for us to include archaeology as part of the knowledge and curriculum of the children at all levels and the people of Belize, because we have hundreds of students coming from all over the world to our country and benefiting and learning about the wealth and the richness of what we have. And therefore, it's as a result of that, we made a decision that we are going to share this among the schools and among the communities. So this is basically what we are doing. And essentially, this is what my husband did when he was alive. He had the archaeologists visit different communities and share with the communities what their findings were. Because after all, we, the indigenous people, have been the custodians of this knowledge and practice from time immemorial. Please go ahead, Anabel.
Okay, so that gives you really the way forward. We want an example of an inclusive archaeology, and we see the idea of traditional land use, which we're looking at the Maya Forest Garden, but if you look at traditional land use around the world, all over the Americas, really what the principles of forest gardens are climate resilient. They have survived millennia of changes and, of course, centuries of impositions. That still they practice strategies that build fertility, that manage erosion, that conserve water, maintain biodiversity, and treat fire risks. These are all things that we are facing today in a serious way. And we were able to get Narciso Torres get awards. He got an award from my university, and also from the Governor General in Belize for his outstanding contribution to conservation using the principles of forest gardening. And from that, we thank you. Cynthia and I thank you. We have our ways of contacting us on the email, and we look forward to how we can make a bigger bridge in both the Caribbean, the Anglophone, and the Latin America and Central America. Thank you.
I would like to say that in this process of decolonization of archaeology, we have been able to show how we can balance and complement the different worlds. We have written an article recently about the journey that Anabel and I have been on, where we've had much heated fellowship, because as an indigenous woman, sometimes professors or colleagues in the United States will ask me, why are you not angry? And I said to them, I am not angry because as a Garifuna and indigenous woman, we have our ways of being unknowing to be able to heal these relationships without compromising. We have a lot to learn from the researchers in the United States, and they have a lot to learn from us. And we're just asking for honor, for respect, for acknowledgement, for affirmation. And I would like to say that I thank Dr. Ford for having me at a conference in Australia where I was the only indigenous person from the Americas. And I said to them, I appreciated the space created where we could listen to different perspectives, meaning indigenous people need to be assertive and responsible in this conversation of the decolonization of archaeology. Thank you so much.
So thank you, Cynthia, and thank you, Anabel, for your paper.